on Thursday 7 of October of 1999, in the city of Rainier, Columbia County, Oregon, was seen for the last time, Theresa and Davidson Murphy. At the time of his disappearance he was 34 years old, was wearing a green sweater, blue jeans, white sneakers, a wedding ring, and a gold chain necklace.
Crimes and mysteries.
The strange disappearance of Theresa and Davidson Murphy. Born in California on May 15 of 1965, Theresa was the only child of marriage. However, she had 6 half-siblings, 4 men and 2 women, of the second husband from Evan Riesk, his mother. While there is not much data on childhood and adolescence of Theresa Ann Davidson Murphy, if we can say that as a result of her first marriage with Steve Colpitts, she had 2 children, Justin and Jessica, who were, according to her mother, the light in her eyes. After divorcing her first husband, and spending a couple of seasons in Florida and Northern California, Theresa would move with her 2 children, to the city of Covington, in King County, Washington State, where she would finish her high school education, and get a very good job at a Boeing aircraft manufacturing plant. During that period of time, Theresa's father dies, leaving of inheritance for his daughter Theresa, a significant amount of money and a collection of weapons. Theresa, not knowing what to do with that quite significant amount of money that she had received as an inheritance, asks her stepfather for help and financial advice, who would advise her to invest it by buying a house. Heeding her stepfather's advice, Theresa would finally decide to buy an apartment in Puyallup, Washington, in the mid-spring of 1998. It was during that period of time that Theresa would meet Richard George Murphy III, whom she would marry on July 4 of 1998. The couple, jointly with Justin and Jessica, Theresa's 2 children, would end up deciding to move and settle in the new apartment in Puyallup, Washington. Approximately a year after this event, in July of 1999, Richard Murphy convinced Theresa to move to Rainier, Oregon, the city where Richard was born. Although Theresa agreed to this request, she was never completely convinced, given that she had to leave the apartment that had acquired a year ago, and quit his excellent job at the Boeing aircraft factory, to go live in a mobile home. However, 3 of the 4 family members ended up moving into the mobile home that was located on the property of at least 10 acres, belonging to Richard's grandparents, located about 4 miles south of the city of Rainier. Justin, Theresa's oldest son, decided to move with his biological father in Klamath Falls, Oregon. Week in which Theresa disappeared. On the afternoon of Thursday 7th of October of 1999, being this a sunny day, Theresa drives her pickup truck, along with her daughter Jessica Burson, who had recently turned 13 years old. The 2 arrived at the house of a cousin of Richard, who had a daughter of the same age as Jessica, the which had invited Jessica to spend 3 days of sleepovers and attend a volleyball tournament on Saturday afternoon. While Theresa dropped Jessica off at her friend's house, Richard George Murphy planned to go camping that same afternoon at a place called Brown Creek Campground on Washington's Olympic Peninsula. This trip, which had supposedly been pre-planned by Richard, would leave him away from the property for a period of 10 days, allowing Theresa reconsider the fact of having gone to live in that place so inhospitable, away from society along with his daughter. Let us remember that had left an excellent job in an apartment with all the comforts, to go live in a mobile home. On Saturday 9 of October, after finishing the volleyball tournament, Jessica spoke on the phone with Theresa, her mother, to ask what time on Sunday afternoon she would pick her up from Richard's cousin's house. But Theresa was not sure of the time hour. So he told her that on Sunday before going out, he would call her to let her know that I was already coming for her. After this conversation between Theresa and her daughter Jessica, Theresa would speak on the phone with her half-brother Chris Reich, with whom she had a close relationship. Chris Reich later stated that the conversation he had with his half-sister was about the possibility of meeting on Sunday morning at a place between Chris Reich's house and Theresa's house. Since the distance that separated them from each other was about 2 hours by car, and that the matter that Theresa wanted to raise with her half-brother was Theresa's intentions to leave her current husband Richard Murphy. However, the meeting never happened, since Theresa never showed up at the place agreed upon by both siblings. In later statements, Theresa's daughter, Jessica, would recall that in the conversation she had on the phone with her mother, on that Saturday 9 of November, of 1999, she had noticed her mother's voice was a bit strange, as if she were afraid or nervous for some reason. Of more to say, that the Sunday, Theresa would not show up to pick up her daughter from Richard's cousin's house either. 7 days after to that Sunday, that is to say, the Sunday 17th of October, Richard Murphy showed up at his cousin's house to pick up Jessica. Something strange that caught Jessica Burson's attention was noticing that the pest control van that Richard was driving was unusually clean and impeccable. When Jessica questioned Richard about where her mother was, he would end up answering that her mother had abandoned them due to problems with drug use. Upon arriving at the mobile home located on the 10-acre property, Jessica would notice that her mother's pickup truck was still parked there, even with the vehicle key placed in the ignition drum. Inside the mobile home would also be all the Theresa's belongings and clothing. Richard Murphy told Jessica that, if she wanted to continue living in the mobile home, she would have to pay him a fee of $5,000, because he could not afford her expenses. Jessica Burson decided to call her biological father to pick her up from the 10-acre property that belonged to Richard Murphy's grandparents. Finally, more than 10 days after Jessica last saw her mother Theresa, on 23 of October of 1999, Theresa's stepbrother Chris and his wife Julie Reich showed up at the Rainier City Police Station to find out if there was any news about Theresa and Davidson Murphy's disappearance. At the police station they tell him that up to that point, they had not filed any report regarding the disappearance of a woman named Theresa and Davidson Murphy, after which, Chris and Julie Reich were the ones in charge of filing the formal complaint. Investigation and hypotheses. Following the complaint made by Chris Reich and his wife Julie about the disappearance of Theresa and Davidson Murphy, Rainier police begin an investigation. They go to Richard Murphy's property, ask him a series of questions and ask for permission to search the property, using bloodhound dogs and a people tracker. They also search the mobile home. The day ends with no positive results with respect to the search. The police confiscate Theresa's personal computer, some photo albums and other miscellaneous items. They also ask Richard Murphy about a pistol Colt 1911 A1 caliber .45 of 1991, with serial number 2,757,178, registered to Theresa and Davidson. To which Richard suggests that Theresa probably took that gun with her when she left of the house. Richard was asked if he was willing to take the polygraph test, but he declined. After that alleged search, which was carried out by the police, Richard did not allow any other investigation on the property or in the mobile home. Only a month after Theresa's disappearance, Richard Murphy begins dating another woman. Keeps Theresa's belongings in storage, which after a couple of months are auctioned off due to lack of payment. Prior to this event, Richard Murphy had rejected the many attempts by Jessica to recover her mother's belongings and personal items. There are no records or documents that reliably prove that the search carried out by the police has existed. By the year 2000, the small city of Rainier only had 1,687 inhabitants. And it is known that Richard Murphy's family had been living in that small city since 1965. Town small, hell big. One of the hypotheses handled by independent investigators was that, on Sunday 10 of October, of 1999, very early in the morning, Richard Murphy arrived unexpectedly from his camping trip, found Theresa with suitcases prepared ready to leave him, starting a heated argument between them. Theresa, seeing herself prevented by Richard from letting her go, took out her pistol Colt caliber .45, threatening to shoot him. Due to Theresa's carelessness, Richard managed to grab the pistol, snatching it from her hands. Theresa would have run out of the mobile home to go to her pickup truck. in which she sat for a few moments before re-entering the mobile home, invited by Richard to pick up her suitcases.
Do you want to go? Well, come, pick up your bags and get out of here,
would have said Richard Murphy from inside of the mobile home. That small interim, where Theresa Ann Davidson Murphy lowered her guard, believing she was not in danger, and he entered the mobile home, again to collect his suitcases. It was enough time for Richard Murphy to take advantage and end up taking his life. After this, Richard Murphy had 7 days to put together his alibi. Another hypothesis is the one that Richard Murphy informed to the police and Theresa's family, which suggests that Theresa had abandoned him because she had drug problems. A theory on which the useless and ineffective Rainier, Oregon police would have based their poor and pathetic investigation of the case. One of the people who might have some information about what happened to Theresa Ann Davidson Murphy is Richard's cousin, who had Theresa's daughter, Jessica Burson, living for a week at his house, and never questioned why her mother did not come to pick her up, since it was school time and the girl should have been attending school. Finally, it must be said that it has been 25 years since the disappearance of Theresa Ann Davidson Murphy, and her whereabouts are still unknown. It is time for the Rainier, Oregon police to conduct a proper investigation. And if they do not feel capable of doing so, they should step aside and invite another security force to do it. The society entire and her family deserve to know the truth about the whereabouts of Theresa Ann Davidson Murphy. Thank you all for making it to the end of the video. If you want, you can leave a comment and a like, so that the video reaches many more people. I send you all a big hug, and I hope you have a great day.